What up, player? It's your dictator, Donald J. Trump. Big titties are a man's best friend. Bright lights, big titty. What up, big titty? Sick old bitties. It's my very secret way of saying big old titties. I have the best words. Nobody has words like I do. This is my favorite podcast, The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve. I have to listen to the show in the closet, but don't feel bad for me. I do all kinds of shit in the closet. Here they come. Get your ass ready. Oh, boy.
Oh boy is right. Oh boy, you've been out there doing a little of everything, sir.
I do everything. I mean, I do you right now.
You are doing us right now, and I don't know that we appreciate it, to be honest.
That guy says so much crazy stuff, it's hard to tell what's real and what's slightly edited out of context for entertainment purposes.
Yeah, you think so?
You do not represent our movement. You do not represent our country.
I know, we don't.
That guy knows a lot about movements, let me tell you.
Yes, he does, dude. Welcome to The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve, a podcast on Spotify, you can get it wherever you get podcasts. You know that by now.
Hopefully, especially if you're listening to the podcast, wherever you found it, good job. But tell others, won't you? Spread it around the World Wide Web. You can go to our website, thevocalminority.net. And, of course, the social medias. Oh, so much fun happening there. Like it, share it, and comment. And get vocal. It's the idea.
Yeah, do great things. All kinds of great content. Steve's been busy putting out great content, dude. I applaud you for the work you do on content. It comes out well. You're talking with listeners. It's always funny stuff, and I'm like, man, he made me look really funny there. Or, man, my best friend is really funny. So kudos to you, dude.
I'm just editing us. I mean, we're the ones making this content. So what if I may pull it out and put it out there? But, when you have a masterpiece to work with, is there any way to really put out a bad product? I don't think so.
That's a fact.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we record a couple podcasts every week. We put them out in full-length form on the various podcast websites, all of them. And then, we circulate the highlights on the social medias for thought-provoking interaction with the audience. You know, one guy found us on YouTube a couple months ago, and he was like, hey, stumbled on you. Like, YouTube just recommended you for a podcast because the full-length podcast is on YouTube in audio-only form and the highlights in video form. But this guy commented, like, boy, you guys are good, and you must have some sort of broadcasting background because you guys just present yourselves well, yet conversationally.
That's a good compliment.
And it's true. We are broadcasters from the radio. And some people have also just being dicks out there. They're like, how come you two have a podcast? Like, why does everyone just get a podcast now? And I've said to some of them, like, do you know where the term podcast comes from? It comes from broadcast, and we're professional broadcasters. So I would argue that we're actually more qualified than 99% of the podcast out there to be doing this.
And if you don't feel that same way, then just move along. There's a lot of other ones out there. You're right. There's a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, and it's a skill to be able to sit here and just speak off the top of our heads for an hour. This is not something that anyone can do. A lot of people think they can do it, but then they try and they fall on their faces horribly.
There is an art to it, but mainly the art here is trying to keep it moving along while giving genuine feelings, and relatable content. So,
yeah, a lot of personalities in the media really come down to, are you an alpha? Are you a beta? Are you passive? Are you aggressive? And what do you do with that sort of information? Not just being a podcaster, but giving personality assessments of you, the real person, not to put out there on social media, but does that come in handy?
You got to think that it comes in handy on some level. I know that my wife is a lawyer. I mean, obviously, you know that. I'm telling the listener, obviously. But a lot of the firms that she has worked for will give these personality tests once you work there to find out. And it's got to be smart on one level to see how to manage you properly, to see how you're going to be effective. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I've taken them before in work world settings, and I think they are useful in a lot of ways. When I was interviewing to be the general manager of the radio stations we're at, I took a few personality profile assessments because they wanted to know, are you a closer? Are you an alpha? Are you a beta? What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? And different pros and cons work differently for different types of jobs. In radio, there are the creative on-air types, the funny types, and then there's salespeople. And are you the kind of seller that goes for the jugular, that knows how to close the deal? Are you too passive? And I took a lot of these profiles, and I found that for the most part, they seem to be pretty accurate as to who you are.
I'll say this, that I've done one of them that Rachel had to do at work just for fun, like to see where I landed on the whole thing. But I've never been professionally looked at in this is how we're going to use you, Nick. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Did you learn anything about yourself? Like through reading this, did you say like, God, I never knew that I'm good at that or that I'm bad at that?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's good to point out your strengths and your weaknesses because sometimes you wonder, like, am I a good closer or am I too passive? Do I joke too much? Am I too liberal? Am I too conservative? Like, I think if you get some actual validation on things you wonder about yourself, you then can maybe focus on strengths or weaknesses. And
yeah.
That's, I think it's good, certainly in the work world, but I think it's good to know in your personal life as well. Because that then translates into how you act in relationships and friendships and with coworkers, even if you're not management or something.
How come reading horoscopes is so close? You know what I mean? Like when I read a horoscope, I always see myself in the Pisces. Or, are they just designed to be that way? Or is there anything real when it comes to horoscopes?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And it's part of why, and I'll explain more about this, but we have a personality assessment that Nick and I are going to take. And I want us to kind of talk through it, to hear how each other is scoring differently or how we're answering differently. And then I want to see the results and see if you and I think it's accurate about each other.
Okay.
And horoscopes, I will tell you, there was a, Penn and Teller years ago. I think it was on Showtime. They had a show, I think it was called Bullshit, where they were basically fact-checking things. Yeah, did you ever see that show?
Mediums, horoscopes, like the art of fooling people, right?
Right. And they're magicians, so they're professional foolers. And, they did this one thing on horoscopes that has really stuck with me because they showed a Harvard professor that did a test on his class. And he told the class, like, there's this new computer program that if you fill out this survey, this questionnaire, it will tell you your personality types. It'll tell you about yourself, which is what we're going to do on the show today. But the trick that this Harvard professor did is he had all these kids fill out all the questions, and then he, a day later, gave them all the results back. And he told them, read your results to yourself. Don't share it with your classmate. Just read it for yourself. Okay. So all these kids, they sat down, they read it, and then he said, all right, you've all read the results. I want to see a show of hands. How many of you think that the computer described you correctly? And about 90% of the students raised their hands. That, yep, I think this is accurate.
It's a good amount.
Right. So he said, all right, Bob or whatever, like start to read yours, okay? And, Bob stood up and started reading his results. And you can just see one at a time around the classroom, people start going like, oh, man, or they start smiling. Like every person got the exact same results. And the professor said, I took this from a horoscope. This is not from a computer program. I just gave you all the exact same horoscope to prove that you can all read it and you're going to interpret it your own way. You're going to find yourself in that horoscope, and that's why horoscopes are effective.
Isn't that funny, dude? Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what I've figured, they're written that way, but what a great test for 90% of the people to be able to find themselves in one horoscope.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't know. I'm not a big believer in horoscopes. I mean, sometimes you read them and you can identify with some of them, but I think that's what this test really is.
Right.
So we have this personality profile assessment that is being used in a lot of therapy settings and a lot of work world settings. And, there's some science behind it. So I've taken this. I'm going to take it again with you, though. First of all, I'm curious to know if I score the same taking it a second time or not.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
And, reading over the results, it certainly seemed to describe me, but we shall see. This is called the Enneagram Personality Test, ENNEAGRAM. And, my girlfriend introduced this to me, and she had found it through Brene Brown. You know who Brene Brown is?
Mm-mm.
It's because you're not a woman. Every woman on planet Earth loves Brene Brown. From my therapist to my girlfriend to Oprah. She's an author and a motivational speaker, and she was advocating for this on some podcasts. So if you want to take it, you can just Google it. You'll find it easy. Truity.com is the main website it's hosted on. TRUITY.com. Truity.
I got it pulled up, dude. Is this a long test? How long should this take people?
Well, I will tell you, when I just took it myself, it took about 10 minutes.
Okay.
So it requires a few minutes of your time. I think you and I dissecting some of this will take a little bit longer.
Sure.
And I will also tell you not to get tricked. At the end of this, on this Truity website, it asks you for $20 to get your results. You don't need to do it. Just go to Google and type in what you score. It's all over the internet for free. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you're basically supposed to rate this on a scale of 1 to 5, whether it's inaccurate or accurate. Okay.
All right. Or the middle ground being neutral.
Yeah, exactly. How do you feel this is? So the first one is I strive for perfection. How do you feel that is? Do you, give me your gut answer. Do you strive for perfection?
I will say it's a complicated answer. I do for a lot of things, but there's other things that I don't strive for perfection at all. I do either the bare minimum or just a little more than the bare minimum, But things I care about, I strive for. Perfection's a funny word too. I strive for my best, to give it my all, on certain things. Is that considered perfection?
I mean, that's the issue with some of these questions. It's supposed to be, how do you interpret it? What's your gut? Do you strive for perfection? And it's funny to me, just when I took this test the first time, all of these answers seem blatantly obvious to me. So already it's interesting to hear that you're sort of in a wishy-washy on it. There may be some where I would agree with you, like you debate what the word means, but do you think you strive for perfection as a general rule? Are you a perfectionist?
I think I'm going to answer. I had a hard time with neutral. I want one above neutral because I'm not complacent, and that's what I think neutral means. That I don't care. So I'm going to give myself a 4, which is closer to accurate than inaccurate.
And that's fair. They give you that option.
Okay.
If you're not totally to the extreme, but you don't feel you're neutral, then yeah, score 4 out of 5. Now, do I strive for perfection? How do you think I would answer that question?
It's I would say 100% accurate.
Yeah, it's a 5 for me. I strive for perfection all the time. So
yeah.
The next one is I work hard to be helpful to others. I mean, we've talked about this before, that I always put everyone in my life ahead of me. I'm always trying to help everyone else. And you can even argue on this podcast that we are riddled with empathy. What do I care if gay people are discriminated against, or if minorities are denied entry? Like, why would I care about that? But I do.
Yeah. So how'd you score yourself? Completely accurate?
Yep. I'm going 5, completely accurate.
Yeah, I'm going 5 too. Does that say something else about us? Like, are we out of touch with who we are, or do we know? Hey, I give a crap.
I think that's part of the fun of doing this, because I want to see your results, and then you can tell me if you think they're accurate. But knowing you for 20 plus years, I want to see if I think they're accurate.
Okay. All right.
And vice versa.
Yeah, that's fun.
The next one is it is important to me that other people like me. Now, one of the things I struggle with on this thing is, what do we do personally versus professionally? We've been on the radio for 27 years or whatever. We're on a business that is literally rated, and it is our goal to get as high in the ratings as we can. So on one level, personally, do I give a crap if my neighbors like me? No. But I also seek, external validation with our careers constantly, from this podcast to the radio. So,
well, gosh, yeah. See, that makes it more difficult, because you know what? I'm going to tell you how I would answer this personally and professionally.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to go with my personal answer.
See, I feel like maybe we got to balance it out, because if it wasn't at all important for other people to like us, why would we be doing this job? I know that's the sole purpose, but it is a big part of it. We're trying to gain listeners and followers and all that stuff. So it'd be disingenuous to say I don't care at all if people like me. And your personal life and your professional life, those are both your life. It's both part of it.
Yeah.
So again, I don't remember how I answered the first round when I did this, but it's important to me that other people like me. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
That's what I'm going to give it too, dude. That's a nice meld of my professional life and my personal life, because I'll answer it. In my personal life, I think I'm at about a 4. Like, I want people I like to like me. I don't want everyone to like me, or they don't have to, I don't care. But people who I like, I would like them to really like me.
Okay. And that's fair, but that's the weird part. Like, obviously in our real lives, I don't care if the neighbors don't like me, because I don't know them.
Right.
But in radio, podcasting, almost everyone is strangers to us, but we do care if they like us.
Yeah. 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 It's already interesting.
Right. The next one, is it important to me to achieve great things? Is it important to you to achieve great things?
Dude, I hate to do this, but we may have different definitions of what great things are. You know, I tell my wife this all the time, that she'll have conversations with me where she grew up thinking like, I'm going to do something great. You know, like she never wanted to be the president, but something great like that. I'm going to come up with a cure. I'm going to design something. I'm going to be great in my lifetime. And as she approaches her mid 40s, she thinks to herself, like, will I ever do it? And I'm like, in my opinion, you do great things in small ways every day is more important. And that's not to sound like you'll be okay. You know, I really do feel like greatness happens with small moments with people, you know. That's how I feel. So it's important to me to achieve great things, but that's not some major accomplishment that you're going to read about in the newspaper, you know.
Again, a lot of this is totally up to how do you interpret these words. I would argue that your wife is a successful attorney. She's helped real people, and that is a great thing. Is she on the Supreme Court? Is that her definition of what being a great lawyer would be? Like, yeah, it all varies. You know, I've told the story before about working in the factory when I was 16, and that so many people there in that mindless assembly line job were perfectly content and happy with that. And it drove me nuts. I wanted so much more out of my life. So I think some people would say, like, no, this is not accurate at all. I don't care if I achieve great things. But again, why would I have been in a band? Why would I be on the radio? Why would I always be fighting these fights if I wasn't trying to achieve great things?
Yes.
So, if I'm being honest, yeah, that's a 5 out of 5. Of course I'm trying to achieve great things. Don't let me sway your answers, though.
No, I'm going to give myself a 4 out of 5 because I'll explain why. Because like I just said, I'm okay with some of my great things not being seen by the masses. I'm okay helping people quietly. So sometimes I don't care about being great. You know, sometimes I don't care. So I'm doing a 4 out of 5.
Fair enough. I make more significant contributions than the average person. This is our personality assessment test. So do you think you make more significant contributions than the average person?
No, I don't want to say that. It feels weird to say that. Maybe I'll put myself as neutral.
Okay. Do I think I make more significant contributions than the average person? Fuck yeah, I think I do. I mean, look at the masses out there doing nothing, sitting on their couch, these keyboard warriors. Like, we are constantly advocating for change and fights and, you know, putting up with being called hippie liberals and being torn apart. And do I make more contributions than the average person? Fuck yeah, they hardly contribute anything.
Well, they don't contribute like you do, but maybe they're still contributing, you know.
Well, the question is, do I make more significant? Yes. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Than the average person? Yes. Than Obama? No. The average person? Fuck yeah.
Gosh, I'm rethinking my answer, dude.
No, don't let me sway you. You committed.
No, I don't want to be swayed. It's just some of these really deserve some thinking. All right, I committed. I'm neutral.
Okay. Moving on with our personality assessments here. I feel my emotions very deeply. Do you feel your emotions very deeply? Is that inaccurate or accurate on a scale of 1 to 5?
Yes, I'm going to say that I feel my emotions very deeply to a 5 of accurate, with the caveat that I feel like I have pretty good control of my emotions. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would argue you control your emotions as far as anger or whatever kind of goes. And I think I do a relatively good job, especially nowadays.
All right. Well, I would agree. I think you feel, obviously, your emotions very deeply. I think, I think we both do. So we both did 5s on those.
Okay. Moving on down the questions. I have a sense that other people will never truly understand me. Do you feel misunderstood in your time?
You know what's interesting, dude, is we've all been in this situation where, like, I don't know, somebody will say something like, hey, when we were hanging out the other night, you said this, and like, that's crazy, man. I had no idea you felt that way, or I had no idea that that's who you are. And like, sometimes people don't understand because we're so different, like, no, that's not what I meant, dude. Mm-hmm. If I talk to you, I know that 99.8% of the time, you're not going to misconstrue what I say. Like, where I'm coming from. So people I care about, people I love, I don't think I'm misunderstood.
I would agree as far as you being that person that would probably not misunderstand me. But that has taken 27 whatever years to get to that place.
Yeah.
A new relationship like I'm in with Kennedy. I mean, we're coming up on 9 months, but no, I don't think she fully understands me yet. And we've had questions and debates where she tries to drill down on why'd you say that or what do you mean? So even someone who I'm intimately involved with and I spend a lot of time with, I don't think shy of a year that she completely understands me. So do most people understand me? No, I don't think they do. Or I would never be called an asshole or opinionated or like my intentions are always good. I'm always advocating for the little man and standing up for what I believe in. So the fact that anyone gives me grief and pushes back, no, I don't think people truly understand me.
I think that's true, dude. I mean, any time that I have had to deal with anyone having questions about who you are, like, it's always been my words to say, like, you don't fucking get it, dude. You don't understand. Like, you're taking it wrong. That's not who he is. That's not what he means. So you are misunderstood by some people, and I guess we all are. But if I have to say just everybody, people misunderstand me, I'm still going to put...
Look at the masses, not the exceptions. Do you feel like the average person in your life or the average listener understands you?
I'm going to put neutral, I guess.
Okay. I mean, keep in mind, we just had a producer that we have known for 20-something years quit the show because he fucking hates me. If he doesn't understand me, like, if that's not representative of people not getting me, then I don't know
what. That's true, dude. I mean, yeah, you would think that, like you said, we've known each other for 27 years or more. So, yeah, like, you should know by now. But, yeah, I think I'm probably a little misunderstood. Not everyone gets my humor until they get to know me, So I'm sure I'm a little misunderstood.
Yeah, okay. So what'd you give yourself on that?
Neutral,
okay. And some of these things may be comical. Like, when I read this one, I think deeply about things. Right? You hear Nick laughing. Do you think I think deeply about things?
Yes. I mean, more deeply than maybe anyone I've ever met.
Right. Maybe to an unhealthy extent, but do I think deeply about things? Hell yeah. I just went on some diatribe about syllables the other day. Like, I was sitting around thinking about syllables, okay? Like a vowel, a syllable. What's the difference between the two? This is what I spent hours of my day the other day pondering. So
it's true. We're on the phone like Steve's clapping syllables. Like, well, we are having a little battle here with syllables. Right. You think really deeply about everything. It has turned out for our friendship, or especially our partnership, to be a great medium between the two of us, because it's been easy for you to think about the things that I miss, and for me to once in a while say, like, you're overthinking it, dude. That's not, So we've had a good balance with each other, but you definitely think about things deeply. And I probably think deeply about 20% of the things in my life, and they're mostly emotions,
Yeah. See, I do think you're a deep thinker, but probably not on every topic, and not about syllables versus vowels or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you assess yourself? Scale to 1 to 5. Inaccurate being 1, extremely accurate being 5. Do you think you're a deep thinker?
I'm giving myself a 2.
Okay. Very good. No right or wrong answer here. This is all how you view yourself. How about this one? I am prepared for any disaster. That's a tough one. I don't know if that means emotional disasters, financial disasters, an actual disaster like a tornado or something, but interpret that how you will. Do you think you're prepared for any disaster?
No, not for any disaster. I mean, I don't know. Are you asking me if I could get through it? I don't know. There's oftentimes I'm like, you know what? If I ever get hurt that bad, pull the plug. Like, I'm not ready for any disaster. Okay? That's the truth. I guess I'm going to put myself neutral because I think that I can fight. I'm strong, but only to a certain degree. Yeah. I'm going to put neutral.
The word any is what bothers me. Any disaster? I mean, any? I mean, no, obviously. But then I think about my life. I mean, some of the emotional things I've been through and divorces and relationships that just blew up in my face and being homeless, either from a relationship blowing up in my face where this terrible woman changed the locks and threw me and my kids out, to actual natural disasters where I had to evacuate my home for weeks.
Yeah.
So to say that I'm not prepared for any of them, maybe that would have been true at age 20 or 30 or whatever, but boy, I've been through a lot. So am I prepared for any disaster? No, but I'm going to give myself a 4 out of 5 because I've been through quite a bit. So I think I could land on my feet pretty well at this point, you know?
Yeah, I kind of also feel like if I give myself above a neutral that I'm tempting fate, like to be like, bring it on, baby, you know, and I don't like that.
I don't think God's going to punish you for your answers on this test, but what do I know? He works in mysterious ways, doesn't he?
Yes, he does, dude. That's funny. I'm prepared for any disaster. Because of the lack of meaning of any, I'm going neutral.
Next one on the quiz here, personality assessments Nick and I are taking. It is important to me to avoid pain and suffering at all times. Oh, that's a loaded question if you ask me. Is it important to avoid pain and suffering at all times?
Tell me what you think my answer is going to be, dude.
For you,
You want me to tell you what I think you'll be too, so don't say what you're going to be, because I'll tell you.
okay. There's nuance to this one. I did struggle with this in my first go-around. Is it important to avoid pain and suffering at all times? All is, that's a weird word. Like, I think you're full of empathy, and I think you also are good at dealing with tragedies that you've been through in your life. So is it important to you to avoid it? It has to be pretty low. I would say you're like a 2, because I think you deal with a lot of stuff.
Wow. See, we're already looking at it differently than I read the question. I'm thinking of physical pain. Like, is it important to try to avoid physical pain? But you are thinking of suffering on an emotional level, and you say I'm a 2?
Yeah, because I think you're pretty good about dealing with adversity that life throws your way. I mean, whether it's a death of a family member, you're dealing with MS, multiple sclerosis. I mean, I don't think you're avoiding those things. No.
I appreciate that. I'm going to give myself a little less credit and go neutral on that. Just only because, you know why I say that is because I'm glad that you see me that way. Like, that means a lot to me. But the moments you don't see and that I don't see, your breakdowns all the time, or my breakdowns, I'm going to put neutral.
Okay. And how do you think I would answer that?
You're not an avoider, dude. If anything, I think that you teach people that it is the only way to fix a problem is to take it head on. So I would put that as inaccurate for you with a number 1.
It's interesting. I mean, do I try to avoid it at all times? Definitely not. No. Otherwise, I wouldn't be dealing with all this overthinking and therapy issues and whatnot. And I also learned years ago in therapy that pain and suffering it's something people do. It's a natural thing that your brain wants to avoid. It's when you make yourself sort of mire in pain and misery. You know, pain and suffering are 2 different things. Suffering is something you do to yourself. Pain is something that is put upon you. So when you deal with pain and suffering, that's where you end up depressed and suicidal. Because if you're suffering, your brain wants you to get out of that at all costs. And that's usually where you go to extreme things, like leaving a marriage or leaving the planet, death.
Right.
It was important to me to avoid pain and suffering. No, I actually think I deal with it. I want to confront it. So I'm going to give myself a 2 on that.
Okay. Fair. That's fair.
All right. On to page number 2. And again, this is the Enneagram Personality Test. You can find it online, free to take. It'll try to get you to pay money at the end, but don't do it. Just go Google your results elsewhere.
All right. Truity.com. TRUITY.com.
All right. I seek out experiences that I know will make me feel happy or excited. Do you seek out experiences that you know will make you feel happy or excited?
This makes me feel, well, yes, I do. I think sometimes I'm being hard on myself. Of course I do. But I will tell you this. I married in this aspect and a lot of aspects, but the perfect person to me because she's so good at setting. We enjoy so many of the same things, and she is so good at planning and setting things up where I've never been like a good planner of setting trips up and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely seek them out with a little, hey, we're going to go do this. Yeah, I'll go seek that out. That'll be great. I don't know if I'm great at starting things and being like, hey, we're going to go do this. Ready?
Well, I guess you have to gauge this on your current life. And if you have a little motivation around you, factor that in. My gut when I read this is who doesn't seek these sorts of things that would make you happy or excited? But then I remember, therapy in my mid-30s, my whole problem was I stopped doing any hobbies. I was just working and being a dad constantly. I was not doing anything that was fun. So I was not at all seeking those things out. And I realized what a terrible mistake that was. So now if you look behind me, if you're watching us on the show, like I got guitars, I got a drum set, I got comic books, I got skis, I got my dirt bike. Like these are things that I very much at this stage in life do seek out because I do want to be happy and excited. These are fun things. So now I think it's totally accurate. But in other phases of my life, like when I was younger, no, it wasn't at all.
If you find yourself in one of those phases where you're not seeking out experience that makes you feel happy or excited, know that you at least masturbate. So you got to give yourself like at least a 2 on this, right?
That's a good point, actually. Would anyone masturbate if that wasn't at least a little true?
Right. I mean, we do seek great things in our life. How far we're willing to go for them, that's another story. But yeah.
That's a very valid point. I see the positives in every situation. Is that accurate or inaccurate? Do you think you see the positives?
With time, yes. Sometimes, I need to step back from it a little bit and search for the positives when they're not so noticeable. But yeah, I'm a pretty positive person, so I'm going to give myself a 4.
I mean, again, overthinking every situation like I do, I can see all of the positives and the negatives. But do I try to be glass half full? Yeah. I'm going to give myself...
It doesn't say, do you only see positives? It says, do you see positive?
Do I see positives in every situation? You're right. It doesn't say only. So I definitely see the positives in every situation. Okay, I'm going 5 then. All right. I am not afraid to tell someone when I think they're wrong.
That's an interesting question because, Steve's obviously laughing because, you are known for telling people they're wrong. Okay. And aren't we all? I mean, aren't we all in different ways? Like, I may not say it the same way you do, but I often say it in my own way. Like, when I think you're wrong, whether I've come out and said, like, dude, you are so wrong. Right. So I think that everybody does that.
Are you afraid to tell someone that they're wrong, though?
I'm going to give, there are sometimes, like if I think back to sometime when I was growing up and struggling with my dad, there were times that I felt afraid to speak up on certain things. I've done it with employment. I've not told the boss who's paying my salary, like, I think you're wrong, dude. So I'm normally in my social life of people I know, I have no problem saying you're wrong. But I'm not real confrontational out with like strangers, like, hey, you can't park there, that type of stuff. So I'm going to give myself 4.
Okay. I'm giving myself a 5 because, yes, I hear this all the time and I do it all the time. I'm generally not afraid to tell anyone they're wrong. So how about this one? I let other people make the decisions. That's a tricky one, actually. Do you feel like you let other people make the decisions? The big ones, the small ones, where are we eating? What house are we moving into or whatever? Yeah,
sometimes, not all the time. Depends how it affects me or the people I care about, So I think I may put myself neutral on that. Like sometimes I just let people make the decisions because I don't really care. But other times I do care and like we'll make it together. I don't always, it's not often that I'm ever going to demand my decision. Like we can come to some sort of compromise, but I just don't go along with everything.
Yeah. I let other people make the decisions. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 because I often do. It's me putting everyone else in front of myself. I may narrow down, you want Mexican or Italian or something, but ultimately I tend to try to let the people in my life make those decisions. So
What about decisions on your health? What about decisions, on your kids' education, or, some of those bigger things, or like, what are you going to do with mom and dad? How are you taking care of them? Like that kind of stuff. Like, you feel the same?
yeah, I don't feel like I make unilateral decisions. I do feel like I try to get consensus.
Yeah.
If I then decide, I'm still factoring in what other people want. So I let other people make the decisions. I'm going to say that's 4 out of 5 accurate.
Okay.
I appreciate having rules that people are expected to follow. God damn it. I'm giving away my answer. We're in a society. We have rules. Okay.
Yes.
The household. We have rules. Put that away. Is that where it lives? No, it lives in that cupboard.
Do you follow the rules? I mean, are there some rules are made to be broken, or do you follow the rules?
My rules aren't made to be broken, or I wouldn't have made the rule that way. So no, I tend to defer to, we're in a society, people. There are laws, there's rules, or there's household things. Like, yes.
Yeah. I'm going to give myself a 4 out of 5 on that, because I've always had a little, part of me that wanted to go against the man and the rules and stuff like that. So I'm going to give myself a 4 out of 5.
All right, let's up the pace here a little. I'm just looking at our clock. I am concerned about security more than anything else, be that financial or home security or whatever else.
I will give myself a 4 out of 5.
I would agree with that. I think a lot about what will happen in the future.
I mean, I know you do. Like, that's entirely accurate, right? You'll give yourself a 5?
5 out of 5. My therapist constantly talks to me about not future tripping, as she calls it. Don't worry so much about the future.
Right. Yeah. You're going to have that problem, dude. I mean, you're getting better, but for your own good. I'm going to give myself a neutral on that one. Like, I care, but I don't think about it all the time. No.
Okay. Do you think you fit in with ordinary people? I don't fit in with ordinary people.
Yeah, I mean, is it genuine? Can I fit in with ordinary people? Sure. I can be a chameleon, but I don't. No, I'm a lot different than I feel like ordinary people are. So I'm going to give myself a neutral.
I'm 5 out of 5 on that. I don't fit in with ordinary people at all. I kind of look down my nose at quote unquote ordinary people. I want people to be exceptional, or at least be definable.
Yes, I would agree. I feel the exact same way. These are also nuanced, so I'm just going with first reactions. So
there's rarely a good reason for changing how things are done.
I'm going to give myself a 4 out of 5. I'm all for progress, but some things, dude, we already invented the wheel, okay?
Yeah, I'm going to go 4 out of 5 too, because I'm not afraid to analyze things and think if there is a better way to do it. But most things are pretty established. So, yes, just do what it is. Stop
right.
It. I always finish my chores. Agree or disagree?
I disagree. I always finish my chores. I'm going to put a 2. Okay.
Okay, fair enough. I'm putting a 5. Hell yeah, I always finish my chores.
Oh, I mean, I finish them, but are we talking about it in a timely manner? Because I procrastinate a lot.
Well, answer it how you feel is right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, on to the next page.
I'm always trying to be a better person. I'm going 5 out of 5. I don't know why I'm spending so much time and money on therapy if I'm not trying to be a better person.
Right. Yeah, I would say that's accurate for you. I'm going to give myself a 4 out of 5.
Okay. I check carefully for mistakes and errors.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm going to give myself a 4 out of 5.
I'm 5 out of 5. I'm almost obsessive about it. And no one has pointed it out, thank God. But I had a typo on a TikTok video we posted a couple things back, and I didn't notice it till it was live, and I beat the hell out of myself. How did you not see that word was spelled wrong? God damn it, you look like an idiot.
Yeah, I know you beat yourself up. You didn't even tell me about it. I know that stuff really bothers you.
And it's hilarious that no one busted me on it. So
no kidding, especially with the scrutiny of the internet.
Right. I like to be around people who I can help. I think I know your answer on this. You like to be around people you think you can help. I don't know that means you look down at them, but do you like to help the people that are around you?
Sure. Yeah. I'll give myself a 4 out of 5. Like, sometimes I gotta not help people. Like, sometimes I just gotta help myself. I'm learning that as I get older because I feel like I've always been a kind of a caretaker of people in my life. But yeah, it makes me feel good to help people. So yeah, even selfishly, 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm going 5 out of 5 on that one. For editing purposes, I'm going to allow us to fast forward through the end of this and jump to the results.
Okay.
All right, so fast forwarding to the results. Let's see what all this adds up to. So, Nick, what did your personality test, what number does it say you are?
Biggest is a 2.
Okay, it's interesting. I am a type 1. There is this whole thing when you take the test, it'll show what your main number is, and then it's got a side number. Anyone who wants to play along at home, you can do the in-depth analysis, but I think let's just look at our big numbers. So you're a type 2, I'm a type 1. Which is interesting right there that you and I are not the same number. Is that surprising, or do you think we have a balance in there?
No, dude, I don't find it surprising at all. I think we are just the right amount different that it works. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the yin to your yang.
Exactly. So here's the deal. Let's run through what it says my type is, your type, but then it does allow you to match our personality types for a quote-unquote relationship, which, you know, you and I are in one, so...
It's always said, dude, if we were gay, like, this would be our longest relationship, dude.
Exactly. So, all right. This is, again, the Enneagram test. I am a type 1, which is known as the reformer. My main characteristics are principled, which I think I hold up on the show often.
Agree.
Purposeful, which I would agree.
Yeah.
Self-controlled. That's debatable. I think actually, I display self-control in a lot of aspects, but I don't know if I do it in every.
Well, and it also depends, dude, if we're talking about 20-year-old Steve or 40-year-old Steve, you know.
That's fair. And the last one is perfectionistic. Does that seem?
Yeah. It gets you pretty much on the mark. If those are the big 3 or 4, that gets you pretty good on the mark, dude.
Right. So so it breaks some of these things down here. So it lists my basic fear is of being corrupt or evil or defective, which, I mean, that's half of what the show is fighting against Trump and, you know, people in this world that we feel are corrupt or evil.
So interesting that is the first thing on there because, yes, I mean, completely 100%. We've always shared that in common where, like, we feel like we got to speak up for what's right and what's just.
Right. And the second thing here, my basic desires are to be good, to have integrity, and to be balanced. Don't I always talk about having balance in life? That is, I don't always do it, but I'm always looking for it.
So crazy, dude. I keep going back in my mind feeling like, is this a horoscope or is this a little more scientifically matched? And I feel like it's the latter because we answered all these questions. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not surprised that it picked these characteristics out in you, but at the same time, I'm like, wow, that's pretty freaking accurate.
Right. So how about this? Key motivations for me, a type 1. The first thing it says, you want to be right.
Yeah. Well, we have a segment on the show and have for many years of Steve is right, you know, so.
It is so funny because, yes, we do. We literally have done this on the show repeatedly. And this is something that has come up in my life, mainly my romantic relationships repeatedly. People don't seem to like that I always want to be right. And I don't get it. Like, don't you want to be with someone who's right, smart, insightful?
Yes, I think that everybody does, but I think a lot of people want to be that person. It's hard for people to hear everybody at some point, but in general, like, people don't like to be told, no, you're not right, you're wrong.
Yeah. Is there anyone out there that doesn't care if they're right or not? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, oh, I was wrong, who cares?
Donald Trump, dude. You know? It's that whole mentality of, like, you know, even when we're going back to, like, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, when he's been confronted on, he's like, I don't know if it's true. Like, he doesn't care. So there are people like that.
That's interesting. Moving down the list here, my motivations to strive higher and improve everything, to be consistent with their ideals, to justify themselves, to be beyond criticism so as to not be condemned by anyone.
Oof. That's a therapy session, dude.
I feel like that could be my bio on the show.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty scary how close it is. The only thing you have to think about is, like you said, there are wings to this test. So, like, this is leaving out some other stuff, but, like, to your core, I would describe you in all these same ways.
Right. And some people have described these about me as a negative, but I don't know. I feel they're pretty good.
It depends how you use them, right?
Right. This is funny. It shows you a list of other people with these types. Confucius, Plato, how about Sandra Day O'Connor, Osama bin Laden.
Wow. Why'd that kink get thrown in the mix?
Right. Hillary Clinton, Al Gore, Michelle Obama, but then Rudy Giuliani's on here.
I think it's just like we said, dude. If you use your power with great responsibility and for noble reasons, then it's good.
How about these ones? These are compliments. Keith Olbermann, Jerry Seinfeld, Bill Maher, and Tina Fey.
What's the deal with that?
Right. I have a high opinion of all those people. So that's interesting.
Well, do you ever think, dude, that you emulate those in your development, your emotions, everything, the way you've developed as a human? I mean, you've been watching all those people and respecting a lot of them.
Yeah. I mean, I had a huge crush on Tina Fey forever. Not only was she hot, but I liked her intelligent humor. I've always been a Bill Maher fan. I've cited him many times in the show, although he's gone off the deep end in the last couple of years. Keith Olbermann and, any sort of intelligent talking head on the TV, I somewhat emulate. And I think I just brought up Jerry Seinfeld as far as some of these jokes I've scripted on, comment sections that I feel like Seinfeld would appreciate them.
Totally. Yeah. No, that's very interesting.
Yeah. So, all right. So those are some of the positives. Let's talk about, here's a fun category on here, addictions. Excessive use of diets, vitamins, and cleansing techniques. Under eating for self-control, and in extreme cases, bulimia or anorexia, and alcohol to relieve tension. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel that's accurate in any way?
Well, I've talked in the show that at this stage in life, I've become kind of conscious about my weight because I was way overweight. I lost a bunch, and now I do often undereat, or as I call it, microfasting to keep things under control.
Right.
I'm not cleansing, like I'm not doing enemas or anything like that. And alcohol to relieve tension, no. Marijuana,
Yeah.
So might be splitting hairs there. And how about this? So these are personal growth recommendations. I think that for everyone, this is actually the part to focus on. It's nice to see the test sort of spit back who you are and see if you agree with it or not. But what am I supposed to do with this, right?
Yeah, it shouldn't just all be affirmation of you're good. So yeah, what do we do?
Right. So it says that I need to learn to relax, take some time for yourself without feeling that everything is up to you, and that what you do not accomplish will result in chaos and disaster.
Is that hard for you to think about doing that more?
Yeah. This is something I'm working on in therapy as far as being the martyr and taking on everything myself. And Kennedy just the other night was like, hey, let me make dinner for you and Crosby. And it caused me anxiety. Just like, no, that's my job. You shouldn't be doing that. What if you pick the wrong thing? What if it's just let me do it? I'll just do it. I don't care. I'll spend the money. I'll spend the time. And I stopped myself and I told her, this is how it's making me feel, but I'm going to let you pick dinner and we're just going to go with it.
Good for you. Well, that's growth, dude. Yeah. I suffer from some of that too. I know how anxiety ridden that can make me when I feel like I need to do my job or control the situation because I know what the outcome needs to look like. So yeah, that's good growth.
Yes. It says that you have a lot to teach others and are probably a good teacher, but do not expect others to change immediately. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's pretty spot on. It's easy for you to work yourself up into a lather about the wrongdoings of others.
Yeah. Yeah. If you get a craw going, dude, I mean, you have a hard time letting it go.
Right. And again, this next one I literally was just talking about in therapy today. Your Achilles heel is your self-righteous anger. Anger is something that I have struggled with in my life as far as keeping under control. But as we talked about in therapy today, like my anger, the need to be right, to defend what I say and do, it does come from a self-righteous sort of place as far as I'm right about this. I'm going to make sure you understand it. I'm not going to let you put me down or debate me in a corner, step all over me.
Yeah, these are pretty freaking accurate, dude. This is more scientific than I was thinking it might be.
Right. And this list, I further into the descriptions, gives you some advice on how to maybe counterbalance some of those things. So, yeah, I've been in a ton of therapy to identify all of those things. So all of the rest of you can just skip to the end and just,
save some money, save some time. Yeah.
Right. So let's find out about Nick now. You are a type 2. You're known as the helper, generous, demonstrative, meaning you put your feelings out there, people pleasing, and possessive. Now, I don't know about possessive. That has a negative connotation to me. But people-pleasing and generous, that's how I would describe you, quite frankly.
Yes. I mean, to a fault, as I'm learning in my therapy, because
we'll get to that side of it. But I don't mean necessarily people-pleasing as a negative. Like, you're always trying to help other people. You're trying to do right by those in your circle.
Yeah, it's important to me. And if we go back to the possessiveness, if we can look at it with not so myopic, I think that it might be right, dude. I mean, for the people that I love and I care about, I don't think I'm possessive in an unhealthy way, but maybe I do feel possessive as a caretaker, as a protector,
Right. Well, let's break it down a little further, see if it gives us some more insight. So, basic fear for a type 2 of being unwanted, unworthy of being loved. Do you feel like that's a fear, being unwanted or unworthy of being loved?
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
Like you, I'm in therapy and I'm working through some of this stuff that I've shelved for a long time and not even maybe didn't notice or maybe pushed down on purpose, Yeah. But, I have those fears for sure.
And then your basic desire is just, reiterates that, to feel loved. You want to feel loved by everyone.
Yes. And it makes me mad when I don't, because I can't understand. I think it's a bit altruistic to be like, love is the answer, but I've got it tattooed on my arm, dude. It's something that I really believe. You know what I mean? Like, I do think it's the answer, and I think we should all try and love each other.
That's funny because this theme runs through your profile here. So your key motivations are wanting to be loved, to express feelings for others, to be needed and appreciated, to get others to respond to them, and to vindicate their claims about themselves. Now, needing to be appreciated and helpful, like you always talk about, we both do, about how we always kind of offer the help and just always want to go solve problems.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's been a common theme. I don't know if it's been in an unhealthy way or it's just kind of what drives me. But yeah, I get the most satisfaction from that kind of stuff. Like if I know I was able to help someone, like that makes me feel good. So could it be a selfish thing? Sure.
Yeah. All right. So let's run through a few examples of other people like you, famous people. Let's see here. We've got Eleanor Roosevelt, Nancy Reagan, Monica Lewinsky.
Oh, wow, she really wanted to help people, dude.
Right. Richard Simmons, that's interesting.
Wow.
Luciano Pavarotti. We got John Denver and Lionel Richie. Stevie Wonder on the list.
Ah.
Uh-oh, I see one here. Maybe this is why I have a weird friendship and attraction to you, Nick. Barry Manilow. You are the same personality type as Barry Manilow.
That is something. For those that don't know, Steve is a Manilow and grew up with a great addiction to Barry Manilow. So, yeah, that's fantastic, dude.
That's hilarious. Let's see. They got Bobby McFerrin, the Don't Worry Be Happy guy. Kenny G's on the list. Priscilla Presley.
Dude, my list sucks compared to yours, dude.
You don't have Osama bin Laden on your list, I mean, jeez. I don't see anyone like glaringly evil on your list. They got the Pope on here, one of them anyways. Yeah, I don't see any glaring evil person on here. Arsenio Hall's on here. So those are interesting types.
It's funny, dude, because I mean, all the people you mentioned, obviously I know who they are, but not one person on that list. I mean, I guess Stevie Wonder, maybe, who I've had held admiration for, not to say I don't like some of those other people, but I don't think about them very often.
Right. It's interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
How about addictions for type 2? Abusing food and over-the-counter medications, binging, especially on sweets and carbohydrates, overeating from feeling love-starved, and hypochondria, perhaps looking for sympathy. Does any of that seem to ring true?
Fucking hit me in the heart, dude. Wow. I mean, I deal with a lot of that stuff, dude. I mean, and again, some of it's newly learned that I've been doing that, but yeah, for sure. I mean, pretty much all of them. I don't know if I abuse over-the-counter medication, but I've always been the person to say, you got a headache? Take a frickin' aspirin. I go to it as soon as I need it. So.
Yeah, and that's fair. I don't know if you're abusing food, but you've talked about polishing off a dozen Krispy Kremes and how good that feels. So,
I definitely use it to make me feel better in the short term. I think I do abuse food to a certain degree. And when it talks about sugar, I mean, I'm a sugar fiend.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So personal growth for you. First and foremost, remember that if you are not addressing your own needs, it is highly unlikely that you will be able to meet anyone else's needs.
Yeah, I'm learning that. I'm learning that in therapy right now.
It's the old put the mask on yourself before you help others that we've talked about.
Yeah.
Try to become more conscious of your own motives when you decide to help someone. While doing good things for people is certainly an admirable trait, when you do so because you expect the other person to appreciate you or do something nice in return, you're setting yourself up for a disappointment.
Yeah. I think that's completely true. And not to say I haven't done stuff because I hope people will be like, thank you very much. That was really nice of you. But for the most part, I don't want to have an expectation of how it makes you feel. I just want to be there to help you. But I've had those moments where I'm like, guy didn't even say thank you. When I let someone in on the road, go ahead, and they don't wave, I am immediately angry. Not even a wave?
Right. And you and I have talked before, I think we just referenced it a few minutes ago, that you and I often just want to jump in and solve the problem. And my therapist had told me that that's wrong. You should tell the person, hey, if you need help, just tell me what I can do, as opposed to just offering the solution and doing it. So the next one on the list here is, while there are many things you might want to do for people, it is often better to ask them what they really need first.
Gosh, that makes me uncomfortable to a certain degree. Because, I just want to jump right in. I know what needs to be done as far as my perspective,
right. Well, these are things to work on. So you and I both should probably be like, I'm willing to help. What can I do? And just let it go from there. So,
yeah.
And then real quick, I'll just run through. So you can match the numbers for relationships. And yes, for whatever the form is, you and I have been in a relationship for a long time. So type 1s and type 2s are a complementary couple since both offer the other the example of their own qualities. Haven't we just been saying how many of these cross over?
Yes, completely.
Mm-hmm. Both types are highly dutiful and are attracted to service roles and occupations such as teaching, being a minister, healthcare worker, stacked with long hours and many responsibilities. Now, I would actually argue that a lot of what we do is teaching and ministry to some extent, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't care if people listened.
Right. The relationship was built around shared values. Both are on a path of some kind together. 2s bring the nurturing and feelings that 1s do not easily allow themselves. They help 1s soften and relax. On the other hand, 1s bring integrity, responsibility, and consistency. They are steady, reliable, and truthful.
Dude, that's crazy. This is crazy to me because it's hitting so close to home, even in this assessment of our relationship and what we bring to it and what we bring out in the other person. I think it's pretty right on.
Yeah. Potential trouble spots. As concerned as you and I are about other people's needs, ironically, they tend not to be very aware of their own needs or able to express them easily.
Now say that again.
that you and I are very aware of other people's needs, but we struggle expressing our own needs to each other to say what we could need to better. We're always trying to help everyone